Welcome to Vacation Station, hosted by Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazines.com.
Hey everybody, welcome to Big Blend Radio's Food, Wine, and Travel Show with the International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association. You can check them out at ifwtwa.org. We call them IFTWA. It's an easier way to say International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association. But we love these shows because we get to chat with travel writers who have traveled across the country, around the world, and it is international. And today we're going to Canada to revisit our friend, travel writer Judi Cohen. You can keep up with her at travelingjudi.com. And that's Judi, Judi. So travelingjudi.com. I'll have all the links in the show notes. And today she's going to talk about how to plan your Antarctic adventure. So if you've already decided you want to go, she's got some great tips, I should say, because she's been on an Antarctic trip. So welcome back, Judi. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you very much. It's nice
You've
to
been
be
all
back.
over. It's good to have you back. So you've been all over. Like what the last, COVID, like post-COVID, next thing I know, I see you at airports like all the time, like your posts on Facebook. It's like, I'm here, I'm in New York, and now I'm here. I'm like,
That's right.
you're actually home. What's it like to go home?
It feels really nice to be at home, believe it or not. It's really wonderful, especially be home during the summer.
Oh, so, yeah, in Canada. Toronto.
Yeah, but I truly have done a lot of travel. In 2022 alone, I did 9 cruises, primarily expeditions, and I did 14 other trips. So that's a lot of traveling, but I do enjoy it, and I plan to continue to do that as long as I can.
Yeah, right on. I know when the pandemic happened, anybody who's used to being on the go just went like, what are you doing to me? Like my whole life just sucks now. And it just was really hard. So it's really great to see you back out and enjoying the world. But I want to go to what you just said, an expedition cruise. Yes. So that's a little different than going to the Bahamas, right? I'm sure they have expeditions there too, but let's explain that difference a little bit.
So the difference is that an expedition ship will typically have fewer guests and fewer options for dining. It is really rich in onboard programming. There's a lot of experts that are on board to immerse you in the destination that you're going in. And really most of what goes on an expedition ship is about what happens off the ship, in addition to the enrichment on the ship. So where large cruise ships, traditional cruise ships, will have multiple dining rooms, and they may have casinos and other big shows, entertainment and everything else. These are quite different. And so when you're making a choice, you have to decide whether you're going to go for the comfort of a large ship with multiple restaurants and loads of entertainment, things to keep you busy on board, versus, in most cases, it's a little less comfortable, but not always. There are now some beautiful, luxurious expedition ships you can go on as well that have fine dining and spas and helicopters and just about anything else that you can imagine. So it really is leveling up in terms of having a great experience.
So an expedition is like you're going to somewhere remote too, right? Like something that's not like your typical Bahama Mama cruise.
That's right.
I like Bahama Mama cruises. I'm just saying. I'll take a Bahama Mama right now, quite frankly.
I like big cruises as well. I'm going to confess. I've done a number of them and I enjoy them, and I enjoy each of them for different reasons. But with the number of ships that are now going into a place like Antarctica, you really do have tremendous choices of ships, of itineraries, of the kind of experience that you want to have. So I don't think there's ever been a better time than present in terms of choices and comfort levels and everything else. I mean, kayaking, everything from kayaking to the Zodiacs, everything is pretty.
Oh, what's a Zodiac? Let's go back to that too, because you mentioned them.
Like, what is a rubber inflatable boat.
What's behind me?
One right behind you in the picture is a Zodiac. That is a Zodiac. It's a rubber boat.
Like a rubber dinghy.
Yeah, exactly. It is like a rubber dinghy. These are pretty heavy duty. They've got big motors on them, you know, the engines you can see on the back of them to propel them forward. And they typically accommodate, you know, maybe 12 to 15 passengers at a time, plus a crew member.
Okay, so this is really cool. Like you get to go out close. Is there when you go on these expeditions, I know it's really, you know, this is something that you only, you know, National Geographic dudes and scientists got to go to a long time ago, right?
That's
And
right.
biologists and everybody. So now it's opened up, you know, a little bit, but it's still kind of metered, right? It's not like the world can all go right now. It's still kind of
Right.
slowed down.
Right.
And so once you decide to go, here's some great tips that you gave us in an article that people can check out on blendradioandtv.com. Again, everybody, it's in the show notes.
Right.
But what's interesting about this is you get to go out and really go out on the snow, see the penguins, right? and you know, actually experience this very extreme destination. So with this, are there rules that you don't go too close to wildlife and stuff like
Yes.
that?
Yes, there are multiple rules. It's all part of the regulations in Antarctica that people can sign on to. Cruise companies sign on to. Most do, some don't. But it's understood when you go onto land that you do not interfere with wildlife at all. You are not to touch penguins. You do not go and encourage them to come and sit near you. And the wildlife experiences are ones that you enjoy typically from a distance.
And so for you, when was the first time you went?
My first time in Antarctica was 2013, so 10 years ago. And I went to Antarctica on a larger ship. I went on the Celebrity Infinity. And I vowed after that, because it was a large ship and we were not allowed to leave the ship in Antarctica, it was almost like a sail pass.
A drive-by, like a drive-by.
Exactly. It was a drive-by Antarctica. But what I vowed at that point is that I would go back, because I did see expeditions and I did see people going on Zodiacs and in kayaks, and I saw them going onto the land. And it was at that point that I said, well, when I have an opportunity, I am going to go back as well. But Antarctica is spectacular, even on a large ship. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous, almost otherworldly environment that you find yourself in. So it's beautiful. Even if you want to do it on a large ship and you have the opportunity to do that, I would say do it. Go.
How many countries have you been to now?
I've been to probably 96 countries at this point.
Holy cow.
And a lot of them are multiple. I mean, Antarctica, you know, I've been to 3 times. And maybe Japan, we're going back to Japan, for instance. We're going to Okinawa to learn about the foods and the wines that they consume there in terms of longevity. They have the population of the oldest people in the world there. So
the blue, isn't that the blue?
Yeah, it's a blue zone.
Yeah, the blue zone. There you go. I was going to say the Blue People, but then that's a music group, right?
That's right. Blue Man Group. So
there you go.
Yeah. So, you know, I find that I'm attracted to off the beaten path areas and areas that interesting things happen. But Antarctica is definitely one that's near and dear to my heart. And I do recommend that if there's an opportunity to go, that you take advantage of that opportunity. We know Antarctica is changing. So
well, it's interesting to me about, you know, the number of countries you've been to. And I remember you had the one front cover story about India, your daughter taking the photo. And I'm thinking, like, you went to India and Antarctica. Okay. Have you been to the Galapagos? I think you have.
Never.
No, I was going to go.
On my list. I definitely want to go there. And I would like to.
I was going to say, this is like the frozen version of the Galapagos, right?
Exactly. Exactly. So I would very much like to go to the Galapagos, and I would like to go to the Amazon.
I know. Nancy and I were just talking about this. She said, we're not hearing anybody go to South America. And I get it in certain ways, you know, there's some unrest and whatever, but like, you know, you need to go.
Yeah, I would go.
Get on it.
I mean,
just a detour from Japan. Come on.
Yeah,
tell them to take a look.
I need to incorporate definitely Galapagos and the Amazon
I know
into
there's
my
pink
travel
dolphins
planning.
in the Amazon, and that's what, and they're really working hard now to fix the rainforests in the Amazon, which I
Right,
think the president's doing good on that. And going back to Antarctica, because it really was a place that everybody looked at like we can't do it, and now we can. Um, let's look at when to go because, I always think that because we're always driving everywhere as we do our road trip across America,
right,
this grand road trip, but and then you get somewhere like last year where we are recording now, Minocqua, Wisconsin. It's beautiful. It's summer, had some interesting storms, but we came in spring. And at that time, the snow was supposed to be gone. And as soon as we arrived within an hour, it said, oh no, welcome, Lisa and Nancy. Here's like a whole bunch of snow and you can't get out for a few days. And then it did it again. As soon as you went to the grocery store and the wine store, got to get the wine, it said, guess what? And then it did it 3 times. And as we left, it did it within an hour. As soon as we
right.
got here, it did a storm. So you really can't plan according to old thinking of the weather. So for going to like the poles, like Antarctic and the Arctic, is it different in planning for weather?
Yes, I mean, Antarctica, the ideal time and really the only time to go is between November and March. So
Ooh,
it's considered their summer season, the summer fall season down
sure.
there. And it really isn't as cold as you think. Okay, people think of Antarctica as being absolutely frigid and freezing cold, but during the November to March period, it warms up. And I have photographs of us sitting on our balcony and sitting on the rooftop in t-shirts for some of the time. But when you go out on zodiacs, the weather can change moment to moment there. You can leave the ship and go out on a zodiac and the weather is beautiful. It can cloud over, it will snow, it will ice rain, the water will pick up and get rough. So you have to be prepared
Ice
for
rain. Ooh,
all seasons. And what's really good about a number of these ships is the expedition ships is they give you jackets. And in some cases, they give you a puffy layer underneath your outer waterproof jacket with a hood. So you're kept dry and you must always bring rain pants. And the ships give you boots. So when you go on the land, they want you to be wearing rugged walking.
so they're not relying on you bringing something
No,
from
they're
J.C.
not.
Penney's. No offense to J.C.
Absolutely
Penney's.
not. So they
Yeah,
give you boots, and then you have little lockers. You keep everything in for the duration of the cruise, and it's pretty handy. It's pretty
that's
handy.
really cool. I mean, I kind of like that because, they always say like no matter the weather, it's about what you wear, you know. And
Right.
here when we went through the snow in Wisconsin, I thought I was gonna die. I thought I could go feed the birds and my butt saw the ice so many times because I thought I could just wear my little hiking boots. And apparently my hiking boots are not made for snow and ice. And
No,
when snow comes up, I learned real quick, like little mittens. So that's why I like what you're saying about them giving you the right gear because what I thought, no, it's not the same as Southern California snow, which I was used to. No.
it's not.
Mm-mm,
It is not.
mm-mm.
And you can walk along when you get off of the Zodiacs. You can get on land and walk along, and the next thing you know, you are up to your waist in snow. You fall in, your foot gets stuck. I
Yeah,
can't tell
yeah.
you how many times I was walking and I was right down to the top of my boots in a big hole
Yeah.
with snow. And I was ever so grateful that we had terrific boots on and clothing
So
on.
so it's still you are still going like when you say it's an expedition, this is still an expedition. It's not like, wear the fancy dress to,
No,
for the
no, no,
captain's dinner, right?
no.
And get
I
your
mean,
hair braided at the Bahamas thing. I'm not
no,
knocking the Bahamas at all, everybody. I love Bahama
right,
mamas and I love
right,
the Bahamas, but
right.
you know what I
I
mean? It's
mean,
just a different,
yeah, like there are, I guess, a handful of people that might bring something to get dressed up in, but really you're limited in terms of luggage. You don't want to be bringing a lot of things on the ship, so you bring what you need to. You layer. You just bring your base layer and you bring your next one and your next one.
Did
so
you
that
take
you're all-
snacks? Because I remember, you know how many times Nancy and I have talked about this on because of our travels, because anything can happen at any time. And I
Right.
remember the very first time you came on the show, we were talking about world travel, and I said, "Well, what's a tip?" And you said, "Always bring snacks." I think it was one of your, and Nancy and I have got to this point of like actually right now you laugh. I have a big bag of M&Ms that a friend gave us, and we're like, I have to tell you, they've gotten us through some really interesting times on the road where you wouldn't think this giant bag, you don't eat them all in one day or something. You can't, it's
No.
impossible. But those little snacks, and every time we have snacks, when you think you can pull over and you don't have those places to pull over, we go, that's what Judi said, bring the snacks. So we've been talking about you for a long time on the road. I just want you to know.
I do bring snacks still.
Even
And
on
as
Antarctica
I-
expeditions, I
Yeah.
would actually. That would be one of the
Yes,
first places I'd
and
take
as I
snacks.
prepare to do my Arctic expedition soon, I'm thinking about what I want to bring as snacks, but I definitely will take, definitely, just to have them.
What kind of snacks do you take to a place like Antarctica or the Arctic?
I like to bring granola,
Chocolate.
the
Oh,
granola
oh
bar.
yeah.
I'll bring dark chocolate. I'll bring a dark chocolate bar or two. And I like candy. So I like jujubes, stuff
I'm
like
with you.
that, which is not very good for you, but there's times when I feel that I want it.
And gummy worms.
Gummy worms.
We are
Yes.
recording on Gummy Worm Day. You do know this, right? This is
I
very
don't know
important thing.
that. Oh
We
my
are.
goodness.
That's what they celebrate in this country.
Really?
I
The
eat them when I
sour- the
drive,
sour
and I'm not
gummies?
supposed to.
The
No,
sour
like
gummies?
gummy worms, gummy bears,
Yeah.
gummy bears, gummy worms, gummy
bears.
bears. Oh, yeah,
Okay.
you can get the sour ones, the
I
sweet
like
ones.
the sour ones.
I want both. See, to me, you need. I want half the worm to be sweet, half of the worm to be sour. But
They
but
don't
it's
make
true.
that yet.
You do need those things, and so like, yeah, because when you're going somewhere so remote and have something that's consistent for your body too, that your body knows, even if it's a gummy worm or a
That's
gummy
right.
bear.
That's right. So, I mean, you don't have to bring anything. They feed you
Yeah.
very well. There's no shortage of food on these ships ever, but it's still nice to have your own.
Now, on these ships, so you say some are doing the la-di-da dinners and some not. And so pick your budget basically with what you're going on. But do they change in regards to like, sizes of how many people go on a cruise?
Yes.
Does it go according to budget? Like, you know what I mean? Or does it go according to what your adventures are, or just according to this is what the company is doing?
Well, I mean, I think that there's a real range in terms of pricing for these. So at the very high end, right, the fancy ships, there's Silver Sea that provide a lot of on-ship luxury, etc. And then there are some other basic ships. And there is Swan Hellenic that I went on. It was my first time on Swan Hellenic. And I love that ship. It was a gorgeous, gorgeous ship. Beautifully finished. The rooms were spectacular. They even had like fireplaces in the room, not real fireplaces, but it was very comforting to see these fireplaces just kind of
For the
moving.
ambiance. Yeah.
For the ambiance in the room and the lounges and the zodiacs, everything else. The off-ship experience is very much like the off-ship experience that I've had on other ships as well. But the on-ship was a little nicer. So
Okay.
it all depends on what's important to you. You've got to, as with everything, you do have to do your own research and figure out what you want.
According to your budget, your needs, and
Exactly.
so, and that's the other thing, like, because this is a big bucket list.
Yeah.
So you've got to really plan this a little bit more than, hey, I'm, just taking a little weekend cruise. This is something bucket list. This is something really magical. What about going on cruise ships now? About like, can you like being seasick kind of thing? Like I've been on whale watching cruises and stuff where like, you're down in the, bring me the Sprite. And then I'm like, you know what? Put some gin in it. I don't care how bad I'm feeling. Put some gin.
Yeah.
I need a gin and tonic somehow, or vodka tonic. Well, so I don't know why, or a beer somehow just always calms me down. And because to me, if once you get that, if you get sick, you're in it like
Yeah.
forever.
Well, so the best idea is that you try to take seasickness medicine before you get sick.
Don't
If
do the drinking thing, like I said, because that's just
Don't
me.
do the drinking thing. But
No.
if you're prone to seasickness, take some Gravol or take one of the other pills that your doctor has recommended to you before you get seasick. Once you're seasick and the waters are really rough, it becomes more of a challenge. The Drake Passage, which is the part between Cape Horn and the Antarctic Peninsula,
Wow.
is probably the roughest water in the world. It can be the roughest water in the world. It doesn't mean that it will be.
Okay.
Twice I sailed that passage and it was smooth as glass. Smooth as glass. 3 times I did that, and it was they call it the Drake Shake. And I couldn't imagine anything worse. And seeing my husband, I didn't get seasick. My husband gets seasick in a bathtub. And regardless of that, he is always up for an adventure. And so he never says no. But he was deathly ill, along with most of people on the ship. They went room to room. The doctors came by and they checked in on you. Were you okay? Is everything all right? But you literally are on your back for 24 hours until you get
Ginger ale across
ginger ale
for everybody.
saltines.
Yeah.
You make it through, but it's not pleasant. Now,
It's not pleasant, but you'll get through it. I mean, it's not the end of the world. Well,
exactly.
I think what's so fascinating about this too is like you talk about the Drake's Passage. When I got to that part of your article, I'm like, he went on the Drake's Passage, and that dude was a badass, right? I mean, what he did for the Queen in England, he came across, then he went through California, tried to take California, went after the Spanish in his, I call it the Golden Hiney ship, right? The Golden Hind. But like he was like, he pissed off the Spanish. So, I mean, there were actual wars because of his attitude with them, and they just kept going at it, right? So it's kind of crazy when you think of it, but he would just set sail and go through these places. Now, we're talking cruise ships, that are, we've got technology of today, like we're talking the 1500s, right? 1500s, got to get my math right. But I mean, so when you were sailing through this, the Drake's Passage, did you think of like him doing this?
I never did. I actually never did, but I went through that and kept thinking about small ships going through this area, small ships without the stabilizers, without a lot of the technology that we have today. And people still do it. And,
That's amazing.
it can really bash a ship. And coming back along the Drake Passage, last year when we were there, a cruise ship ran into some trouble. It hit a rogue wave. A rogue wave hit the ship and broke windows and did a lot of damage. And there was some guests that were hurt. So you never underestimate the power of water. You can't.
Well, that's why I say it's still an expedition. So like travel, well, this is the same thing as people going to national parks and falling into the Grand Canyon, taking a selfie. I'm like, sorry, the world is not going to buffer you from danger. You have to be aware as travelers. I'm sorry. We have to have some common sense. I'm not, we don't, if you want to claim a Darwin Award, well, sorry, not being rude, but I'm just saying. But at the same time, you're going to the Antarctic, you definitely should have a little bit of that hair of fear in you because it's part of the adventure. I think so, right?
And I mean, the other thing is you really have to know your own abilities. So
good point.
offer sea kayaking, and they typically say, you should be an experienced kayaker before you head off. And one of the cruises that I was on, there was a couple and they had never kayaked. And the fellow leaned right over to take a picture. And the next thing you know, they were in this frigid water. Of course, he lost his thousands of dollars in camera equipment and everything else, which was kind of sad. But again, I kind of go back to, should you be doing it? If you really aren't experienced, should you be doing it?
No, I would not kayak because I've done some bayou stuff in Louisiana, and that's how I learned how to kayak. And I go in circles. If I don't have a guide that like, you need to go this way.
Right.
I'm not good. And
Right.
I'm not, you can ask my high school, I'm not good. I tend to go in circles. So if they said to me, are you experienced? I'm like, yes, I've had plenty of experience, but I suck at it. So I wouldn't do it unless somebody
Right.
else paddled.
Right. Right. So, like, I think that
That's gold.
you have to be your own test. You know, you've got
Mm.
to kind of say, you've got to be realistic with yourself and say, what can I and what can I not do? And just be content with that.
And okay, so what depends, like, I don't want to scare people from going if this has
No,
been their dream thing, but if you can't do all the activity stuff, you can still go and have a good time.
absolutely. There is more than enough to do there. Tons to do there. The Zodiac cruises, you can do the landings by Zodiac. They take you and then you do the landings and you go on the land and you walk and you hike and you just hang out there and watch the penguins. It is beautiful, and it's the surroundings. It's so enormous, like the scale in Antarctica just dwarfs.
It's like a snow desert in a way. Like
It
if
is a snow desert. That's
yeah,
exactly
now
what
do
it
you
is.
get sunburn from this the
Yes,
reflection?
yes, you can get sunburn. Sun is out there almost 24 hours a day, almost, depending on when you go. And the sun is very strong. So they highly encourage you to take
Oh, wear sunscreen and
sunscreen with you. You
wow.
don't need insect repellent. There's the good news.
No snakes.
Nope. Nope.
A little
Which is
different than
nice.
Africa and India, right? A little bit different from
Very
that kind of
different. It's
that
very
kind of
different.
that
So
kind of expedition. So that's
yeah,
well, that's interesting. So all right, so the zodiac seemed to be an interesting thing. And then like how long are the cruises? That was the other thing. Like how long can you go for? Like to me, we're used to land and you
right.
know, so I go, oh, we could go stay somewhere for a month. Well,
Yeah. Well, you can
can you
do
get an
cruises.
Airbnb on a glacier?
I know, not really, not there. Not there,
Okay.
although you can sleep. Some of the cruises offer a night on Antarctica. You can go sleep under the stars, but there's never stars because it's daylight all the time.
Oh, yeah, there you
And
go.
yeah, and you have to, like, they take a bucket. You cannot leave anything on land. So if you have to go to the bathroom, you bring it back. Okay, they bring it back to the ship. So it's kind of an interesting one, but you can go for any time from about 10 days to some of them can even go up to 30 days
Wow.
because they go to different locations
Yeah,
in,
because it is big. That's what you
in the
gotta,
peninsula. Yeah.
yeah.
And I mean, I enjoy the South Georgia Islands, the Falkland Islands. It's got great history. I mean, the Falkland Islands is a fantastic place to visit because you really learn about the Argentine British history that's there.
Cool.
And they drive you around. I mean, the Brits that are there will take you. They take you out in four-wheel drive vehicles. I found it fascinating. I could have easily spent days there just listening to the stories. I
But
only had
okay,
one
because
day.
so we all think, okay, so you go to, it's all snow and that's it. So are there like restaurants or like
No,
what's civilization like in regards to the entire area?
there isn't civilization there that is usable by visitors. Okay, so
So that's cool though. That
there
makes me
is
want
a
to go
post
even more.
office. There's a post
Oh,
office.
that famous one, right?
Yes, at Port Lockroy. So you can go in there and there's 3 or 4 people from England who staff that, and they actually compete to get a posting at the post office. It's pretty lonely. There's not much there. We went there, and of course, I bought penguins for my grandchildren, and I sent a postcard that arrived home to my kids 4 months after I was there. So it's kind of cool. And you also see the old explorers, what they did, how they lived, the huts they were in, the cans that they had, the
Oh,
containers
wow.
that they used. So that's very, very interesting. Falkland Islands has got a community on it. It's a full community, and you can tour the Falklands. It's not considered, Antarctica per se. It's not the peninsula, but it's I think it's very, very interesting. And South Georgia. So there's a few places there that you can go, and you can see things that are quite different. But every place you land in Antarctica, in the peninsula, is different. It's amazing how different they are. The shape, the sizes of the glaciers, and you see the glaciers falling into the water, right? That what's going on, and you see all the penguins scattering around, and the whales, and
Oh, the whales.
yeah, and the whales, and it's fantastic. And the seals, the elephant seals, the other seals that are there.
Do they talk
They're
about
enormous.
climate change at all? Like in regards to when you're traveling through to
Yes,
understand
they
a little bit
talk.
more?
They talk extensively, okay, on the ships about what's going on in terms of the
Yeah.
climate. And climate change, is no question it's affecting things. And they, are straight up about it. But they also talk about what the ships are doing to be respectful and mindful of the changes that are going on, to still provide the opportunity for our folks to go down and see it. Because I think that people who go there become the ambassadors.
Not everyone can go. I think
No.
that's the thing. Not everyone can go. Not anyone. It's one of, like I said, it's a big bucket list that very few are going to go to.
It is. And if you can do it, if you're inclined to do it, if you like to go to colder places on the planet, ones where you're not going to be entertained, the entertainment is your eyes.
Exactly.
You eat with your eyes there, and it just is nonstop. The panoramas, the scenery there, I've never seen anything like that before, ever, ever, ever. And it's just gorgeous, and it changes you.
Now you're going to the Arctic next.
Yes, I am going up to the Canadian. I'm going to Greenland, charter flight from Toronto to Greenland, and then we're cruising from Greenland through the fjords into a couple of places there, coming across the Davis Strait, which is it's not quite as bad as the Drake Passage. But some people say that they've gotten very, very sick coming across to Canada. And then we're doing the high Arctic. So I'm looking forward to that. And then I come home for 2 weeks and I go back up with Quirk Expeditions. My first one is with Adventure Canada. And the second one is with Quirk Expeditions, where we're going to fly from Toronto to Calgary. And then there's a charter flight taking you up to Nunavut, one of the territories in Canada. And from there, we're going to go up to the remote Canadian Arctic, up to Ellesmere Island and the Northwest Passage. So they should be quite different experiences. I'll be able to tell you lots more after I've done it, but I am really looking forward to it. And then I'll be able to say, the polar expeditions are quite different.
You can say you're bipolar now. I didn't mean that politically correct. Sorry. No, but you know what I mean.
Say that anyway.
Well, yeah. I mean, but you've done the two polar opposites. That's pretty cool.
Exactly.
And you've been to the equator, right? Too.
Yes.
See, that's pretty darn cool.
Yeah, so I've done that, but I think that this is going to be very interesting, and I will have seen the Canadian Arctic right from one end to the other. So I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for the ability and the opportunity to be able to go and do this.
It's exciting. This is really, really exciting.
Yeah. So and I'm not a young adventurer. I'm an old adventurer, but not any less interested and up for the experiences that I hope to see.
I say you got to do whatever you can do while you can.
I agree.
Period. You got to.
I agree.
Yeah. So kudos to you doing this, and you really gave everyone some good tips to think about, because it's not a frivolous trip.
Right. I mean, the other thing that I do want to share with people is that all of these expeditions, what you have to do is expect the unexpected. So if you're someone that likes to have an agenda, an itinerary that never changes, right? I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. These expeditions are not for you. If that is something that is going to upset you and you won't be able to handle, don't go. But if you can go with the flow and all of the changes that happen, you may have had your heart set on seeing a particular place in Antarctica. You may not see it because the weather will prevent it, or the water will prevent it. And if you're going to be upset by that, don't go.
Well, I think that with travel as a whole, I think that's good advice in general.
Yes, but there in particular, I mean, when you
Yeah,
do
that's a big
travel,
that's a big deal.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is. You do have to really expect the unexpected. So, but it's great. And what I've done is I gave a list of the expedition cruises as well as the
Yeah.
mainstream ships, so that the
People
reader
can start researching.
can do your research and you can check them all out, and they're all a little bit different. And
Mhm,
read the reviews. Like
mhm,
spend time and read the reviews on the ships.
mhm.
But
And go to your website because you've done articles and
yes,
so it's travelingjudi.com and it's Judi. And Judi also follow you on social media, like on Instagram
yeah, I'm on
especially.
Instagram. So I'm on
Yeah.
Travel Judi at Instagram. And I do post as I go. I'm not sure if we have internet.
Yeah, it all depends.
Exactly. So through the Arctic, I don't believe that we're going to have good internet. So I may be posting afterwards. But I do share in my stories all of this. I do reviews, and I like to share my insight into what can work and what doesn't work.
Exactly. I think it's
for
priceless
travel.
because this is such a big deal for people to actually go and do. So very, very good advice. IFTWA, everybody, the International Food Wine Travel Writers Association. We love doing these shows and chatting with writers like Judi. Judi, they're going to be doing a cruise from Vancouver, Canada, down to LA for their conference this October.
I know.
Where are you going to be?
I'm going to be in Japan.
Oh, see,
I will be in Japan, but I would love to have done that.
Have you done any of their conferences?
I have not. I haven't been a member of IFTWA that long, but I do want to get much more engaged because it's a great organization, great writers, and a fabulous community.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And even during COVID, how they didn't just go, okay, travel's over and do all those webinars and events like that. I thought that was really smart with what they did.
They did really fabulous webinars.
Yeah.
That were very, very helpful. And they also kept everybody engaged.
Yeah, I know, because it, like I was saying at the beginning, it was like, oh my God, what do you mean we can't, what? It's like tourism is one of those, especially responsible tourism, which I know you're part of too, is, responsible tourism. That is like something that is one of the most solid forms of, that can help an economy. It's like, it's not like the small town that, the company town and the company went away and left the town dry. Tourism doesn't really do that. But this was one of those things that just were like, you suck, COVID.
Yeah, exactly.
It sucked. But I think when those who just really stood up and said, okay, we're not over, let's keep going. That was fantastic how they did it,
I
Yeah.
have to tell you, I love the picture that you chose, my picture.
Yes, it's yours.
From the Swan
With the Zodiacs. There it is. Look, it looks like another boat. Like you could sit, it's like a jet ski almost, the glacier behind it, like you could sit in the middle there.
Well, it's mammoth. You probably can't even tell from that picture the scale of those icebergs, but they are absolutely enormous. So, yeah.
Cool. I'm excited for you. I can't wait to follow you as you go through Canada, as the Arctic Circle. That's going to be excited. Like I'm going to be all like, you stay warm and take your wonderful snacks. So everyone, keep up again with Judi at travelingjudi.com. I'll have the links in the show notes, the links to the article as well. And you can also keep up with the International Food Wine Travel Writers Association. Whether you're a destination, a photographer, a writer, go to ifwtwa.org. Thank you so much, Judi. It's been so cool to see you again.
Thank you. It's so wonderful speaking with you.